Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting version of Chip Talks Health. Are you malnourished? You are. We're going to talk about that. Is your family malnourished? Are your kids malnourished? They likely are. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about protein and amino acids. So super exciting topic today. But let's just start off with some basics. Okay, so you have some basic needs, essential needs is what this is called. So if you're doing searches or talking to AI or, gee, I want to go back and validate what Chip told me, or I want to prove Chip wrong or whatever, essential nutrients is the word that you're looking for. And what this means are nutrients that we can't make on our own. So inside your body, you can make a lot of the things that your body needs, but there are certain things that you can't make, that we have to consume, that we have to eat. So what are those things? Omega-3 and omega-6 fats in balance. And you've heard us talk a lot about those. Proteins, and in particular, there's 9 essential amino acids. So we're going to cover that today. And then the last category is really vitamins, trace minerals, and metals. And so those are, well known, but none of us really are covering the bases here. And so we've talked a lot about omega-3 and omega-6 balance and how detrimental that is, that we need to eat those fats in balance. And so we've done a lot of podcasts about that, but we've never really talked about aminos and protein. So today we're going to talk about aminos and protein and the importance of aminos and proteins and kind of what happens if things go wonky, if you're not getting the amount of amino acids that you need. So first of all, there's 9 essential amino acids. So and what that means is there are 9 essential amino acids that you have to have every day. Your body won't make them. You have to consume them. What are they? Histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. So those are the 9 essential amino acids. Now you'll hear people talk about protein a lot. Protein is nothing more than a string of amino acids. So let me say that again. Protein is nothing more than a string of amino acids. So when you hear about protein being essential, that's true, but it's really essential around the 9 essential amino acids. So when we talk about protein being essential to your function, what we're really saying is there's 9 essential amino acids that are essential to your function. And for the most part, you get those in meat. If you're a vegan, again, you have to be super concerned about the 9 essential amino acids. If you're just eating beans, you're likely not getting any methionine. If you're a meat eater, meat does have all 9 essential amino acids. So red meat has all 9, chicken has all 9, a lamb has all 9. Buffalo have all 9. So, pick your meat of choice there, but it's going to have all 9 essential amino acids. Why? Because that animal has the same needs that you do. That animal had need for all 9 essential amino acids, and they have stored those amino acids in their meat. So their meat is reflective, is protein, and that protein is a storehouse, let's say, for the 9 essential amino acids. Muscle. So yeah, that's where the 9 are. So now let's talk a little bit about, so most of us get, let's say, our protein, our amino acids from meat. You do get amino acids from other things, and there are plant-based, sources of amino acids. So don't think this is just confined to meat. But most of us eat meat, and so we're going to talk about this around the context of meat. But meat is just like we are, and so if that meat is sick, or if that meat is, let's say, being disfed, omega-6s over omega-3s like we are, and most meat is, because it's eating corn and soy. So most meat is eating these omega-6 heavy, basically seed oils. That's causing a disproportionate amount of omega-6 in the meat. but that's also dysregulating that animal. So that animal, just like us, is going to be hyper-inflammatory, hyper-tweaky. That's going to change their need for amino acids, and that's going to actually change the amino acid profile that they store in their meat and muscle. So we have to take that into account if you're looking at basically my source of amino acids. The 9 essential amino acids is going to be, let's say, beef. Well, I've got to be concerned with what that beef is eating, because that beef may not be making enough of each of the 9 to satisfy me. The ratios may be off, and the ratios certainly will get off if that meat is messed up, if that meat is inflamed, if that meat is sick. So that's the first thing that you got to kind of consider with protein. Now, when we're formulating, like in TrueMedX, when I'm building our essential amino protein powder, I'm taking all this into account. And I do everything with isolates. So again, we don't use whey protein as a starting place. We don't use soy protein as a starting place. We use isolates. So we go to all 9 of the essential amino acids, and I'm going to give you those in the ratios that I think you need. But I'm going to have to make an assumption that you're eating some meat. And so we just make an assumption that you're eating 4 ounces of meat. But then past that, I've got to make some assumptions about the quality of that meat. And I kind of have to assume worst case, right? So that's why I'm walking you through the feedlot stuff. And that meat, you know, when you look up, when you say, hey, chat, give me how much of the 9 amino acids are in 4 ounces of beef. What's going to give you, you know, a normal, let's say, but that normal isn't based on that meat being omega-6 heavy and basically inflamed and likely sick with something. Okay. So in those situations, go ahead and ask chat. You'll see how basically those amino acid profiles change under different conditions. So we kind of assume a baseline condition about our meat that is most likely incorrect, to be honest, unless you're grass-fed, grass-finished, or raise your own cows or whatever, or your own chickens. So we can't make assumptions about we can make assumptions that there's some amino acids there, and we can make some assumptions about the ratios of the 9 that are in meat, but we have to kind of assume worst case. So we have to just assume worst case. And so that's kind of what I do when I'm formulating, let's say, for you guys. I'm assuming that worst case. Now, when you look at your needs, okay, so we definitely have needs for the 9 essential amino acids. And without those 9, we're going to suffer, okay? But what happens if we're in a hyperinflammatory situation where we're eating a bunch of omega-6 over omega-3? We have a real tweaky and hypersensitive immune system. Does that change anything? Well, it turns out, yeah, it changes things dramatically. And the thing that it changes most of all is basically our ability to build conditional amino acids. So because we have additional immune needs and basically regulatory needs, we're sucking up all of our 9 essential amino acids in kind of processes that are inflammatory, or processes that are immune or defensive, or all that kind of stuff, or, you know, trying to kill something. So we're sucking up all of these 9 essentials, or a lot of these 9 essentials, into other activities. That doesn't leave us enough to build conditional amino acids, okay? That doesn't leave us enough to build conditional amino acids. Now, what are the conditional amino acids? Glutamine. Why is glutamine important? You can't repair your gut without glutamine, and glutamine is a huge immune system fuel. So if you're having some kind of event and you're sucking up all your 9 essential amino acids and you can't build glutamine, you're not going to be able to repair your gut lining. If you have something like a Helminth infection or H. pylori or something like that, you're not going to be able to repair that area. So this is super critical. You're not going to have enough immune horsepower to be able to fight off whatever's trying to infect you, because you're not making any glutamine, likely very little. Because again, our 9 essential amino acids are being sucked up by other processes. What's another super important conditional amino acid? Arginine. Arginine we need for nitric oxide. So again, if you're having problems with vascularity, blood pressure, circulation, blood flow, neuropathy, you've got to have enough arginine in order to basically, cause your blood vessels to expand and unspan. Super important for circulation. And again, you're not going to heal normally if you don't have expanded blood vessels, if you can't move anything around, and you're not going to be able to do that without arginine. And you won't build enough arginine. You will be both glutamate, all of these you're going to be deficient in if you're disbalanced in omega-3, omega-6, and have any kind of infection. Any kind of infection is going to cause you to whack these guys out. And guess what? It just creates a situation where things get worse and worse and worse and worse because you don't have the resources that you need to be able to defend yourself, to be able to fight off stuff. So because we're malnourished, we can't defend our castle. We get infected with stuff, which increases our malnourishment and increases our ability to have a lack of defense. Crazy, right? But easy to fix. Easy to fix. We just need our essential nutrients. All right, so what else are conditional that are being driven by this situation and that we're likely lacking in? Proline and glycine. All right. So proline and glycine are super critical for collagen. Collagen is a storage mechanism. So collagen is kind of how we store these guys. We'll talk about this in a second. But if you're not making proline, you won't build collagen. You can't. Okay. You cannot build collagen without proline. You cannot build collagen without glycine. So are you looking older? Do you want to look younger? Well, you got to be able to build collagen. Are you losing your hair? Are you losing your teeth? Are you losing your eyesight? You got to be able to build collagen. Okay. So proline and glycine are what allow that. Again, if our all 9 are being sucked up by other processes, we're not making any proline. We're not making any glycine. And the last one is cysteine. Anybody hear about NAC? So NAC is a form of cysteine that's super important, but cysteine is how we build glutathione, and it's really how we defend ourselves against oxidative stress. So again, if you can't defend yourself, is your immune system going to get worse? Yes. Are you going to be in more of a malnourished situation with more need and more need and more need? Yes. So do you kind of see how this works? Do you kind of see how the malnourishment leads to a weakened immune response, leads to infection, which leads to more malnourishment? And it's just a loop that gets worse and worse and worse and worse. That's what we're going through right now. And where all of us are doing this, none of us are nourished as to amino acids. None of us right now, because we just don't have the proper information. I mean, you might get lucky with some protein supplement. And by the way, on to protein powders. So the first thing you're going to want to do is run out and buy a protein powder after this video. Gee, I'm really deficient in protein. I got to run out and find something with glutamine, arginine, proline, glycine, cysteine. There's a bunch of those out there. But here's a couple of things. What's the basis of that protein powder? And if it's whey or soy or something like that, ditch it. Again, you want isolates. You want protein powder built from 9 individual isolated amino acids, and these conditionals as isolates. They're going to be way more expensive. So you're going to have to pay a little bit more for that protein powder, but it's going to be a higher source of nutrition. And again, this is kind of, if you balance omega-3, omega-6 at the essential level, if you take, let's say, our essential protein powder and you're taking a multivitamin, guess what? You're taking manna. You don't really need to eat much. I mean, like, there's very little nutritional need that you're going to be lacking from food. So eat to taste, which is kind of a nice thing. Let's talk, as we close this, let's talk a little bit about collagen, okay? Because I want to kind of stimulate your mind. I want to give you something to think about with collagen. So when you look at someone who is aging, again, what is the first thing we see? Well, we see wrinkles, we see fine lines. God is a perfect engineer, if you will. So are you making like cells that are wrinkled? Are you making skin cells that are more prone to wrinkling? No, you're making perfect skin cells, sin scales. You're making perfect skin cells, perfect, because God is a perfect engineer. But what happens is because we are deficient in these conditional amino acids, if you need them, where do you go to get them? I mean, you only have one place to go, and that's collagen. So we are robbing our collagen because we're malnourished in conditional amino acids. And this literally is what is the underpinnings of aging. Okay? Collagen is directly responsible for you looking older. Collagen is directly the lack of collagen, let's say, is directly responsible for you looking older. It's directly responsible for you losing your hair. It's directly responsible for you beginning to lose your teeth. Even your eyesight lack of eyesight is associated with collagen. So are we really aging, or are we just malnourished and catabolizing our collagen? I think that's a fascinating question. And I would go that we are all malnourished and just catabolizing our collagen, that the physical signs of aging have to do with malnourishment, not that we're aging or dying or whatever. God is a perfect engineer. Everything inside of you will rebuild. So in order to not have our collagen robbed, in order to look younger, in order to have our skin be more elastic and last longer, in order to keep our hair and our teeth and our eyesight as long as we can, we've got to have collagen. And in order to have collagen, you've got to supplement right now, because we're all kind of sick, with these conditional amino acids. Okay. You guys getting the picture? Now you're going to say, Chip, I'm 85. I'm wrinkled like a prune. Is this going to work? Can I return my skin to normal function? Turns out the answer to that is yes, if you have the collagen building blocks. So if we can re-stimulate that collagen in those areas where you've lost it, you will absolutely rebuild collagen, and those areas will begin to rebuild and repair. Are you going to look like you did when you're 30? Probably not. But people who are 18 right now, as we teach them this stuff, they may look like they're 30 for a long time. So we've got that, but certainly you can reverse age through this process. So, which is really cool. So anyway, let's leave it there. So obviously you guys are beginning to understand how important these essential nutrients are. So again, if I'm not eating enough omega-3 and omega-6 fats and eat those in balance, I'm going to suffer in big ways. I'm going to be more prone to infection. I'm going to have way more disease symptoms. I'm going to be weaker. Similarly, as we've talked about just now, if I'm not getting my 9 essential amino acids and likely the conditional amino acids, if I don't understand the state of my body, then I'm going to suffer, and I'm likely going to age a lot quicker than I should. So how long are you designed to last? That's a super interesting question. A lot longer than you live right now. And, looking like you're 30 and feeling like you're 30 and operating like you're 30 and performing like you're 30 is sure what it's looking like. So we're on it. We're on it here at Neighborly Wellness. We're on it in NewMedX, our bigger picture. We're on it in TrueMedX. So if you need help balancing omega-3 and omega-6, again, most of us just need to supplement with an omega-3 supplement. So go to TrueMedX, get our omega-3 supplement, start taking a squirt of that every day. If you don't have a protein powder and you don't want to do a whole bunch of math, it's almost impossible to do this on your own with diet. It's way better just supplement with omega-3, get our TrueMedX essential protein powder. That's what we've been talking about. Get it. It's got all the conditionals. It's got all the essentials in it. Supplement with that, and then take our multivitamin, the TrueMedX multivitamin. If you do that, you're going to greatly decrease your risk of all-case mortality. You're going to see a lot of the things that you're suffering with now begin to go away. We might have to go in and clear up some infections, let's say, that you might have, but you're going to be much stronger in how you defend yourself if you can just meet your essential nutrient needs. Anyway, we'll leave it there here.
Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this. Most of us are walking around malnourished, not because we don't eat enough food, but because we're not getting enough of the essentials. Your body can't make the 9 amino acids it needs every single day, and that's where TrueMedX Essentials comes in. It's a clean, balanced amino formula designed to fill those gaps so your body can repair, defend, and thrive. But if you really want to cover all 3 pillars of nutrition, your omegas, your aminos, and your vitamins, check out our Core Nutrition Bundle. That's your foundation for brain, body, and everyday energy. You can find both at TrueMedX.com. Take care of your essentials, and your body will take care of you.